because if you can remove fear, you'll be tremendously good in the market. Because I actually had one of my mentors, he lost $1 million in a day. Trade million. And he wasn't like affected by it. He was like, okay, cool. I mean, this is what happened. This is why I lost it. And I'm like, bro, you just lost $1 million. Like, what is wrong? Like, what's wrong with you? And then I had to realize something. He was emotionally okay because he was already a millionaire. He was already a multi-millionaire. So he was already making money, but that was just a loss that he took. And he was like, yo, I mean, I'll bounce back from it. I can't make $1 million in a day without accepting the loss of $1 million in a day. So that's why I was like, oh, that's different. So then that's why I taught that principle in the market. So now when I make $1,000 in a day, I'm like, okay, I'm fine with making $1,000 in a day, but I also have to be comfortable losing it too. So again, if I let's say I put 10,000 in a trade and I lose 10% of that, which is 1,000, I got to be comfortable with that, because at the end of the day, I know that in these next few trades, I can either make $200, $300, $400, $500, even $1,000 on a trade if I keep being consistent and I keep sticking to my strategy and I don't trade with emotions. So that's why it's simple, but it's not easy. Like, once you're actually willing to dedicate it to actually learning this stuff and actually accepting the risk and accepting losses and accepting your losses and building on your wins, you're going to be successful in the market. And I already have my friends, and they're literally teenagers and stuff like that, and they're learning that stuff because I had to paint that picture in their mind that they don't have anything to fear. Because I mean, if they lose that money, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you can still get money from your parents. You can still be at your house and like stuff like that. And you still got years ahead of you. And people just give the money sometimes just as gifts. So I'm like, you could just leverage that and have no fear. And now they don't have any fear. And now they're making like $100 a day or something like that, around that amount. And they're like 15, 60 years old. And they're still in school online. Like, but that's the type of thing that it's all an emotional thing. It's the main thing is an emotional thing. Because if you can manage your emotional state when you trade, you can easily make 10,000 a day, 100,000 a day, $1 million a day, because at the end of the day, it's all percentages. Because if I make $100 a day and I'm using 10% rule, that means I use 1,000 to make 100. So if I use 10,000, I can make 1,000. If I use 100,000, I can make 10,000. If I use $1 million, I can make 100,000. It's just 10% though. It's still 10%. Like, I still put that money in and made 10%. It just depends on how much I put in. So then again, that just goes back to the emotional part. Are you emotionally able to handle that? And that's what's going to dictate your success.
Have you always been emotionally able to handle that?
Heck no. I was I was terrible. I feel like that's why I'm such a good teacher, because I know, like, if I say certain things to a trader that's emotionally trading, they're like, yo, how does he know that? I just went through that yesterday. I'm like, because I went through that already. Like, I lost 1,000 a day. I was like, oh my God, I just lost 1,000 a day. I was so upset. And then eventually I had to realize, okay, why? I had to ask why. So when I get into emotional, because I lost 7,000 a day, like, recently. And I was like, and I had to realize, I was like, okay, I lost 1,000 a day. That's cool. That the fact that I even had a 7,000 to lose, first off, was a blessing anyway. But the fact that I can also make that money back anyway. So that's why I was like, all right, let me just make some changes, make some adjustments, and I'll be fine. But that's not like a light switch you can just turn on and off though. You have to kind of build that stuff and train yourself to think like that. And now I've been doing that for this entire like year and a half, and now I'm able to get to this point. And even still, some people it takes 2 to 3 years. So literally, even the fact that I'm doing this now, and the fact that I have a process that can actually speed up your process and focusing on your emotions, is like something that most people don't even teach until they're 2-3 years in. So again, that's why my course is most likely going to teach something that most other courses don't teach, because they don't touch on the emotional aspect. They're going to teach you their strategy. They're going to teach you how to enter trades. They're going to teach you how to set up your account, but they won't teach you how to actually deal with losses. And that's the key thing, because you can make 10,000 in a day, but can you handle and stomach losing 10,000 in a day? And if you can't, then you got to go back to the drawing board.
I love that so much, teaching how to think, because like you're truly the coach when you can teach me, like what you were saying, to ask questions, like asking questions. That's not just risk management. That's like conflict resolution in general in life. And so if you're coming and you're teaching me how to think about these trades. And I can control myself during money. And, you know, nobody wants to lose money, like you said. So I remember I called myself trading. I had $500 and I lost $500 like 3 times. So I was like, okay, let me just, because I don't know what I'm doing. But when I started, I had made like $300. So in my head, like, we up. I'm finna, you know. But no, I didn't know any of the things you're talking about, which is why we need that like guidance and that leadership that not only has done it, but you also have kind of made that cheat code for people. But it's every aspect, thinking, doing the risk management, being able to make the calculations, like looking up the proper way to do things. No, when you're on YouTube, you're getting a bunch of information, but the information may not be in order. You may not need this part until you get way down here. But you have this information, you don't have any structure with it. You don't know what kind of comes first or second. And then you jump out there and you feel like you know what you're doing. But that may not be all the case, especially when things get more technical. So I really commend and I love that you are teaching your expertise, and then the fact that you learned in a year, you said a year and a half.
Not a year and a half, a year and 2 months. Is it 2 months?
And you're already killing it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That just shows how serious you take your craft, which means that we have to learn more from you. We have to get you. Have you been doing, I think I've seen you've been doing speaking events.
Oh yeah, I've been doing a few speaking events. I'm starting to get into that more, and I'm actually about to start getting into schools now, and you know, talking about to the kids about like actually what the stock market is, how to trade and stuff like that, and also different entrepreneurial paths they can take, and also teaching them how to leverage what their specialties are and what their gifts are, and how to leverage that to make money and how to turn that into a business. So I'm going to start doing that soon too, like in Atlanta, just going to these different schools and stuff like that too. But I know with COVID, it's a little bit difficult. But I'm trying to get a few speaking events, like to speak to teenagers and stuff like that, and young adults. That's my job. That's my goal to do.
I love that. I think it's so needed. I'm trying to do similar things in DC. I'm coming down there too because, like you said, the mindset is different. Yeah. But I want to also do that here because people may not have the exposure. They just don't know you and know what you're doing, or they don't know that this is a thing that me too, I can do that. They might see it and think it's for them. Yeah. And I want, you know, I would love to connect with you on that path of like going to schools and starting up in events and whatnot, because I feel like that's how you get that exposure. Having somebody tangible that you can see, that you can go and say, hey, I did this, I started this, or I was thinking about this, or I saw a YouTube video on this, and being able to be in a room with somebody who can actually tell you more about it. I think that that's so important, just because it evens the playing field. Like, okay, I can be in this game too. Like, I see him, I can be in the game. So I love it.
Thank you.
I love it so much.
But yeah.
Well, okay. So I have 3 questions for you. This is speed round, and I just want to respect your time. Yeah. So the first question is, what is healing finances to you mean? What does healing finances to you mean?
Healing finances?
Mm-hmm.
Healing finances, like healing me, or like
healing? Okay, so I kind of did it out of order. So what does healing to you mean?
Okay, so healing to me is being able to consciously understand what is going on with you, and being able to take the right corrective measures to actually, you know, work on working on figuring a way to help yourself get better. So whether that be, like, healing is different for most people. Like for me, healing is just understanding what happened and then saying, okay, do I have to feel bad about this? Not really. Okay, cool. That's for me. Because I usually just because I'm so self-aware, and I'm also aware of like whatever you allow yourself to feel and whatever you allow yourself to I guess like embody in terms of like what in terms of your emotions and stuff like that, you have you can control that because your mind is in control of all of that. But you still have to identify what that stuff is and identify where you are and where you want to be and also what you have to do to get there. So that's healing to me. But healing could just be, whether it depends on the situation from each person, but it could be going to therapy. It could be, taking some time off to yourself. It could be, keep yourself in your room so that way you can relax and get your mind right and stuff like that. Like there's different ways of healing, but that's what healing is to me.
I love it. Okay, now what is healing your finances?
Healing my finances, well, I feel like I'm already kind of scarred in my finances as much as it is. So I have to say because and when I say so I consider myself broke now. That's what I consider myself at because for me, broke is 500,000 and less. That's broke to me. And then middle class is like 500,000 to 2 million, and then upper middle class is like 2 million to 5 million. That's how I do it. Like that's what one of my mentors told me. Like that's basically how it works in terms of like the hierarchy and like what you should be striving for. So in my mind, I'm like, yo, I'm not where I want to be, but at the same time, so I'm technically always healing. So healing finances would be, I guess, finances that would heal me, like what I heal, like what I'm dealing with. I mean, that's not probably that expensive for me because I could probably just afford something that can heal me, like afford someone that can help me heal. So that'd probably be like maybe 5 figures probably, like to heal me. But I guess to have the lifestyle that I want, that might be 7 or 8. It just depends.
So how are you? Okay, so this is a side question, but
yeah,
how are you? How do you invest your money?
I just invest in different. I invest in mainly I invest in myself, like information, but now I'm about to start investing primarily into like tangible things like assets. So right now I mainly reinvest everything back into education myself, like literally educating myself. And that goes from either getting a mentorship on how to do a specific thing, a course on teaching me how to do a specific thing in that industry, or it might be going to a conference and networking with people so that way I make those connections and I meet new people and those people can help me do specific things. So that's pretty much my thing, like what I invest in now.
I think that's important too because it's kind of like it can be a blind spot, I guess, where you're making money, but now I'm getting all this money in. What do I do with it? Especially if I'm young,
Yeah.
And if I'm making more than my parents, how do I, what kind of rules do you have in place for your money to just make sure that you're putting it on those right things? And we're young, we want to have fun, we want to do things. What do you have any rules that make sure, or maybe it doesn't have to be rules, but maybe like an account where this is your spending account and this is your investing account or your work account? How do you separate your money so that you can kind of live in the moment, live your life, but also you're thinking about your future and getting into that next tax bracket?
So I typically don't like. I'm weird. I don't go to parties. I don't go like out too much. And if I do go out, I try to figure out, all right, what can I get out of this financially, or what can I get out of this in a networking perspective. So if it's not somewhere I can link up with like-minded people, that's not really something I want to do. Like matter of fact, I met up with a few of my friends. They're like, they're a little younger than me. They're like 15, 16, 17. But one of them's on Nickelodeon now. Another one did interview with Shaq, and he has his own clothing brand. Another one like is growing and blowing up off of working out and stuff like that. Another one is huge into dancing and stuff like that. Like everybody that I hang out with is like killing it already. So I don't really I don't really do like parties necessarily, or like have things that I spend like waste my money on for like I quote unquote waste my money on like high ticket things like investments. So but other than that, I mean, I usually like just buy things that can help me. Like I actually just spent money on a monitor, a new desk, and a new computer. But I mean, that stuff was I'm an investment. So for trading, that's so again, it's still not really personal to me. But I usually just put all of my money reinvested back into the business, and I might take like a few dollars or maybe max $100-$200 for myself, because for my bills and stuff like that. I mean, not bills, but like personal things that I want to do. Like if I want to go out somewhere, okay, cool, I have this money set aside for that. But outside of that, I need to be working and reinvesting, because my whole thing is like, I want to be like, when everybody else is 21 having fun in the club, I want to own the club. So that's my whole thing. But in order for me to do that, I have to take these steps now, so that way I can enjoy my life once I'm a little bit older.
How did you know what it is you wanted to do? Did you set out goals, or is this recent? Have you always had this entrepreneurial mindset?
Oh no, like literally. So the reason I had the entrepreneurial mindset, where I got it from, was, so I used to be a very empathetic person. Like I still am now, but I was very like, I was always focusing on everybody else, because I wanted to either be accepted, or I wanted to be liked, or I wanted to have, friends, stuff like that. So that was my thing when I was in high school. Because I didn't really have it when I was in, middle school and stuff like that, in elementary school, because I was very annoying. I was not that friendly with people, and I just wasn't always getting along with people. And once I realized it was me, now I realized, okay, it's my job to like basically be everybody's friend. I'd be cool with everybody, at least in some way, shape, or form. But so when I got to, so there was a situation that happened with this one person that she was my best friend basically. And long story short, she basically cheated on her boyfriend with me and lied about it basically. So she basically, I asked her, I was like, hold up, what's going on? Because she tried to come on to me basically. And I was like, hold up, don't you have this person? She lied and said no. Something happened basically. And then she told her boyfriend, and then basically said that I took advantage of her basically, even though she came over my house and that whole thing happened. But I was like, so then I had to break down. So, and this is why I'm so like, the way I'm self-aware and I'm so analytical about how I trade and stuff like that, it's the same way I told him the story of like what happened. Like we was talking for 2 hours of like every single thing that happened, like every detail. And the point where the guy was like, hold up, she normally does some of those certain actions and some of those certain things with me. So then she was like, then the boyfriend ended up believing me, and she ended up, I guess, trying to attack. She basically tried to come to my house, attack me, and all this other stuff. And then that's when I basically was like, okay, I can be doing everything right, and some of the people that surround me could still do me wrong. So that's when I kind of pulled back, and I was numb to certain emotions and stuff like that. And I was kind of staying like to myself a lot. I wasn't playing the game. I wasn't hanging out with friends. I actually lost like most of my friends. I kind of cut everybody off so I could focus on me. And that's when I got into entrepreneurship, because I spent so much time devoted to myself that I had no reason but to be successful in some way, shape, or form. And that's why I was so good at options, and because I just spent all my time doing it. And now I've gotten to this point where I know it so well. Now I can just take breaks and stuff like that and I'll be fine. But I already know so much. And now there's so much stuff that I still can learn and grow from, but I know majority of everything that I do need to know in order to be successful with it. So, but that came from just dedicating that much time and to myself and not everybody else. And now that I'm in Atlanta, now it's like, all right, now I can start networking. Now I can start, because I actually have value. I actually have, a skill set that I can teach somebody and contribute. So that's kind of where that started from in terms of getting into entrepreneurship.
That is so good. So basically, essentially, that's like the story of betting on yourself. Why betting on yourself is so important. We, I feel like that correlates to my story as well. I had all these ideas. I've had that mindset for a while, but I wanted to push you to do something, or help them, or you got an idea. I can, like, just instead of focusing on myself and my craft. And this is what happens, guys, when you focus on yourself. So drown out the noise.
Focus on you, because at the end of the day, like, it's not, and I'm not saying like, yo, just be a jerk and just say, oh, screw everybody. But I mean, to a certain extent, you have to be selfish, because if you're not, then you're going to build up everybody else's kingdom without building up yours.
Yes.
You got to figure out like, all right, cool, I'll build my kingdom and I'll send troops to help them. Like, you got to have that type of mindset. But you have to build now, because like, especially like when you're younger, you have to build, because at the end of the day, I want to be like, by the time I'm like 21, I'm already going to be financially free. I'm already going to have everything that I want paid for and my parents' stuff paid for. So I don't really care about like what other person's doing because my parents still got to pay bills. Like, I don't care if you making this much or you're trying to learn how to do this. Okay, cool. But I still got to make sure I take care of my family. I still got to make sure I take care of me. Like, you have to put yourself first if you want to actually achieve those things. Like, I'm retiring my parents by the end of this year, and I already calculated how much it would be, and I'm like, okay, I can make that easy. So I'm already thinking in my head, like, all right, how can I provide for people? And it all comes back to what do I have to do for me, not what I have to do for everybody else. Even still, I still like my focus is still like it's really and the thing is, like, when I have a community and stuff like that, because I'm actually going to, everybody that gets my course also, you will be into my community where we basically do trading. We'll do live trading things, and we'll also do, and I'll also give you guys plays and also charting and stuff like that, and my analysis of what I'm actually doing every single day when I'm trading. So if you are getting the course, you'll learn how to do it, and you'll also have my guidance on how to do it as well. But the people, like, so the only people that I'm focused on is people that's willing to invest in themselves. If you're not willing to invest in yourself or willing to grow, then that's not going to be my focus. But if you're willing to invest in yourself, okay, I got you. Because at the end of the day, if we have the same mindset and I help you, eventually it's going to help me in some way, shape, or form. So if you're good at, like, if you have a really fantastic clothing line and you're really good at marketing and you want to learn how to do options, I got you. I'm gonna walk you through it. I'm gonna teach you how to do it, cool, for free. None of that stuff. But you're going to come back. Everybody does it. They're going to come back and like, oh, you want me to help you with a clothing brand? Sure. I mean, just that type of stuff is literally like just exchange of value, basically. Like, that's my thing. Like, just always exchanging value, also just giving back to people and helping people grow. Only people that I just have the most respect for and that I'll just help out regardless of whatever their situation is like people that's super young and they're like 13, 14, 15 years old, 16 years old, only because they have so much more potential than I do. And I know that they can be successful, and I know that they're great, and I know that they're early too. And the world hasn't gotten them yet. So I can still, work with those people. But other than that, I still mainly just focus on me.
I love that so much. I was reading yesterday and I read a quote about leadership. So I want to know your opinion. When you are teaching and being a coach and being a leader, how do you feel about your students surpassing you?
Oh, if my students surpass me, I'm a great teacher. That's my point. The whole point. Like, for example, if I'm a parent and my son or daughter isn't better than me, I failed. I failed as a parent. I mean, I didn't do something right because everything needs to get better in some way, shape, or form. Everything has to grow. Everything has to develop. Everything has to get better. So actually, matter of fact, like one of my students actually, he made like $940 in a day in like about an hour or so, and I lost like $2,000 that day. I was happy that day. I was like, yo, I just lost $2,000, but he made $940 but the thinking that I helped him do that. And now he can consistently do that. I'm like, yo, that's so crazy, like, to think about. So now my losses don't even matter anymore. If I lost $10,000 in a day and someone else made like even $100, I'm gonna be happy because that means that I actually did something right. Even if I'm doing something wrong for myself, I still did right by somebody else, and that just means so much more to me than any success that I can have.
I love it. Okay, tell the collective where they can find you. I think you already told you the link in your bio. Just tell them your website and I love that name, Gen X, Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Is it Gen Z?
Yeah,
that's dope. Okay, you're on something. I like that. But tell everybody where they can find you again, because I know we started talking again.
Of course. You can find me at CEO Ashon on Instagram, CEOASHON, and I'm also on Twitter at CEO Ashon as well. Pretty much everywhere it's pretty much going to be CEO Ashon. But it's CEOASHON. Yes, I know it's spelled a little weird, but it's Ashon. So yeah, but I usually gotta say that because most people say Ashton or it might be Ashon and stuff like that. I understand though, but I made that. But yeah, you can find me there, and GenZenterprises.com. Trying to help 1,000 people make $1,000 this year. So $1,000 in a day,
Go.
by the way.
$1,000 in a day?
Yep, in a day. 1,000 people to make $1,000 in a day.
Let's go. We can do it. Let's grow. We can do it. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm thankful. I'm so happy that you came and visit us today. This was such a good talk, and I hope people got something from it. I know so many people that are like on the fence about trying to trade at any cost. And so I feel like you did a great job of kind of like diving in, dissecting it for a new mind who is looking for a new skill and wanting to change their life. So I'm so grateful. Do you have anything else to say to the collective before we get out of here?
Bet on yourself before you bet on anybody else. I mean, just believe in yourself before you also believe in yourself, but also believe that God put you here for a reason. Like God has something for you in your life. And if that is to help other people, then do it. If it's to help yourself and it's to help your family, then do it. But whatever God called you to do, just do that and then do it to the best of your ability.
I love it. You guys heard it here first. Now, make sure you do some healing today. Peace and healing, y'all. We're out.
Peace out.